These right here are whole roasted, Texas barbecue flavored cricket snacks.
Welcome back to another video. So as you can see in the title, they have approved the use of cricket powder in food dishes across the European Union. There is a governing body called the European Food Safety Authority. I guess that's similar to what we have here in the United States. I guess that's their version of the FDA. For those of you that don't know, Europe has a lot of its countries that have decided to be part of what is called the European Union. Not all European countries are part of the European Union, but at least 20 countries in Europe are part of the European Union. And the European Union is not essentially taking away their sovereignty. They're still individual countries, but they are tied together primarily economically. They share similar governmental policies and a few other things, but the primary goal of the European Union was to serve as an economic bloc so they could be a little bit more powerful. Countries like Germany, Italy, the Netherlands are all part of the European Union. France, they all share the same currency called the euro. So throughout those countries in what's called the Eurozone, they are now going to be using cricket powder in several of their dishes that are sold to the public. Whether it's something like cookies, cakes, pies, because it's going to essentially be like a flour. And eating bugs is nothing new. People have been eating bugs since the beginning of time, I guess. It's just something that we don't typically do in the West. We don't do it in the United States. We don't do it in Europe. And it's something that you'll find a lot more common in South Asian countries like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, etc., where there's a lot more poverty. A lot of health and nutrition experts say that bugs are an excellent source of protein, specifically crickets, mealworms, etc. And what they typically do is they'll grow the crickets and they will, of course, harvest them at what's called a cricket farm. And then they will take them to a processing center. And, of course, they'll kill them and they'll dehydrate them and get them nice and dried out. And then they'll, of course, grind them into like a powder. So that's essentially what they do. I may have skipped a couple of parts of the process, but you get what I'm saying. And I just find this to be absolutely incredible because even though Europe and the United States have a whole ocean between us, don't think for 1 minute that this is not going to happen here in America at some point. There are already cricket farms here in America, but most of the cricket farming is used to supply feed for animals that eat bugs like chickens and stuff. So also reptiles eat bugs like lizards and maybe some amphibians like salamanders and stuff. But this is just a very interesting development. So I got an article here. This is where I found it. It was from this website called the Daily Caller, which is a very popular conservative-leaning website from the UK. So as you can see from the title of the article here, EU approves use of cricket powder in food, pledges funding for insect-based proteins. And this is something that the elites are behind, I believe. The European Union approved cricket powder as a novel food to be added to bread, pasta, meat substitutes, and various other foods, according to a January 3rd entry into the EU's regulation database. The European Food Safety Authority determined that partially defatted cricket powder is safe for human consumption when added to everyday food products at certain levels after the Vietnamese insect farming company Cricket One applied for approval in 2019. So they want to use it as a meat substitute. They want to use it to put into breads, pastas, etc. I think up to 3% of all foods in Europe that are approved to use cricket powder in will have cricket powder in them. Moving forward, I don't know when this is going to happen, but the elites want us to stop eating meat, and they believe that raising animals like chickens and cows and pigs for human consumption uses up too much water, it uses up too much land, it uses up too much energy, right? And they know that the majority of Americans are not about to become vegan or vegetarian anytime soon. So they want us to start eating bugs, y'all. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, insects as food emerge as an especially relevant issue in 21st century due to the rising cost of animal protein, food insecurity, environmental pressures, population growth, and increasing demand for protein among the middle classes. So they want the middle class population around the world, specifically in industrialized nations like the United States of America and Western Europe, to eat bugs. It has a big impact. Davos speaker calls for 1 billion people to stop eating meat. Boom, right there. So this is about control as usual. It's going to have less greenhouse emissions, less use of water, and we're going to be using less land because you can grow God knows how many crickets, at a time in one confined area versus, having a grassland or a pasture for cows and a den for your chickens and pigs. So last but not least, I just wanted to go over a few points because this is not anything that surprises me because we know how the globalists get down. If you know, you know. If you don't, please do your research. I believe that this is another ideal from the global elite and an extension of control. They believe that they are superior to us in every way. And they want to control what we eat. They want to control what we say. They want to control what kind of car we drive, how many kids we have, and every aspect of our life imaginable. This is not a conspiracy theory. Remember how people who refused the vaccine were treated just a few years ago? Look at how they ridicule you if you don't agree with their leftist views on sexualizing children, abortion, LGBTQRSTUV, and everything else they believe in. If you don't believe in what they believe in, you get ridiculed. Something's wrong with you. People should be able to eat what they want. This is not being done to save the planet. This is being done to stroke the egos of people that me and you will most likely never meet. They could care less about us or the welfare of the earth. Eating meat and animal products such as eggs, milk, and butter is not anything new. So why the sudden push to force us to eat bugs? There's plenty of land. There's plenty of animals. There's plenty of ways for us to eat meat and animal products in a sustainable way. We've been doing it for this long. All of a sudden, we got to start eating bugs. Even though this is occurring in Europe, don't think for 1 second that the elites in this country aren't on board with this either. If you can afford it, I would start a small garden just to get used to it. If any of you that are listening to this video have never made a garden, please start gardening. I did it before for a few years. I need to do it again, but I need to get a bigger house with a little bit bigger yard. If you can afford to in the near future, buy some land, raise some chickens if you like to eat eggs and if you like to eat chicken. If you don't eat meat, that's fine. You probably won't have to deal with this whole bug situation, but a lot of us do eat meat. And a lot of us don't want to start eating bugs or having bug powder mixed into our food. A lot of us just don't want that. If you don't read the labels on your food, I would start doing so because cricket powder could start popping up in some of your favorite food commodities at any given moment. Of course, it has to get FDA approval, and don't believe for 1 minute that the FDA would not approve this. I know they'll approve it. And last but not least, I never imagined that this would happen in America where you have to start looking at labels to see if you got bug powder in your food. But at the end of the day, keep your eyes open. Keep watching. Things are only going to get more interesting. I'm going to leave a link to the article in the description box. So if you want to read it a little bit more in depth, feel free to do so. Thanks for watching. And if you don't want to eat cricket powder, keep your eye on the labels. Grow your own food if you can. Peace.